spreadsheet. So let's say that one of your categories was safety and you looked at the different types of crimes. So one thing you might want to do is to adjust it for how big the city is. So to do that, we're going to take that value, in this case violent crime, and we're going to divide it by how many people are in the city. Enter. And hopefully it'll come up with this autofill, which will apply it for the entire column. You can do that for all of these, for burglary. So here there was 576. Don't actually type in 576, just hit the cell. You can see E5 matches up here, divided by the population. Okay, sounds good. And car theft. Divided by the population. Okay. So once you got those values here, one of the things we're going to want to know later on is what the lowest number is in this column and the lowest and the highest number. So that's why I put this min and max row. You see these parts here? So let's look at the percent violent crime and let's do the min. There's actually a function for this. So we always hit equals, whatever we're going to do. I'm going to type in min, and you can see it already knows what I want to do. So 0 was the lowest number in this list, and you can do the same thing here for the max. It actually knows it pretty well what I'm trying to do. So this will go from the G5, the Abilene row, until the 504th row. So there's 500 cities, and then these 4 rows are taken up. Enter. Oops, it didn't do it. Okay, let's try it again. G5 to G504. Okay, so the highest of this thing is 2.0278, so that's like 2%, which is pretty high. And then we do the same thing here. Burglary, and luckily it's automatically popping up here. Okay. So we're going to use these values, the lowest and the highest value. You could use it to find out like what's the range of this. You could also use it for our what's called the normalization formula. Okay. So if you actually sort this, like the most violent crime, we can sort it Z through A. Z through A. Okay. So that would be Camden, New Jersey is the highest violent crimes. Burglary, it's Vallejo. You can see Vallejo now is on the top. And if I do car theft, it's Oakland, okay, is the highest one. So different cities are different problems with different types of crime. So if I'm making like a score, overall score, one way you could do it is you could average it. And to average it, we are going to use the formula. So we start with equal sign and start typing in average, A-V-E. It already kind of pops up. We want this one, the regular average. And we want to average these 3 scores together, so I'm going to highlight those. And you can see now it says G5 to I5. So there's G5 until you get to here, I5. Close parentheses. And there you go. Now in this case, it didn't ask me to autofill it. So I'm going to have to manually apply this formula. The way you do it is you click on that bottom right corner and you can hold down and drag it down and it will apply that same averaging for those 3 things. Oh. Okay, I'm going to drag this all the way down to the end. So we got like 500 or so cities here, so it'll take a little bit. Oops. So I went a little bit too far. I got this divide by 0 stuff. I'm just going to highlight it and delete that. All right, so it looks good. We got our average. Perfect. Okay. So what we want to do now is if I get a score for a city, I want the high number to be a good thing. But if I was to look at the highest one here, like the highest average, Camden is the one that has like really bad violent crime. Detroit also has a lot of problems with crime. These are like murder capitals of the states, right? So we don't want the high score to be a bad thing. We want the high score to be a good thing. So there's a way to do that, and it's to basically flip the number to get the reciprocal. So the formula for that is equal to 1 divided by whatever this number is. There you go. Oh, nice. And asked me to flip it. Okay, which is great. It'll be 1 divided by whatever this number is. So I got some scores here. If I go to sort it, it's gonna there's gonna be a little problem though. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So now the highest score should be the safest city. If I go Z to A though, there's gonna be these ones that are messed up, because if you take 1 divided by this number, if that number is 0, when you divide by 0, the world explodes or something. You just can't do it, okay? It's just not really defined. So instead, I'm just going to make it a number that's smaller than whatever this number is. So let's do small. Okay, so all of these small numbers that are giving me a problem is not good. Instead, I'm just going to change it to, this is 0.004, so let's just make it a smaller number, 0.0003. That will just let it rank a little bit higher than whatever the other ones were. Oops. Let's apply it here. There you go. So it's a slightly better score than this other one here. All right, sounds good. So that's how you make the score higher. So if it's a higher score now, in the J column, the higher score is a bad thing, right? It's like the average number of crimes per city. Okay, high score is like that place has a problem with crime. But now that I've flipped it by doing 1 over x, a high score here is actually all the safer places. So Athens, Augusta, Charlotte, Honolulu, Las Vegas. Actually, that's kind of surprising. Palm Coast. Those are the ones that have the lowest amount of reported crime per population. Okay. So anyways, you could think of this as like your score for the safety. Like this is kind of like your safety score. The problem is though, if I use a different category, maybe I do like something about the average age. This number is way bigger than the ages of the people in the city, right? So I have to do one last thing, and that is to turn this score into something that's between 1 and 100. So there's like a special formula for that. We call it normalizing. And what it does is it allows us to like turn all of our scores and scale it to that 1 through 100 scale. So there's like a formula for it. So I put it on this slideshow from before. Here's the normalization formula. Okay, you like subtract the number from the minimum, and you divide it by the maximum divided by the minimum, and you take that whole thing and times it by 100. Okay, so here's what it looks like when you put it in the sheet. You like click on the cell, see this where the C5 is, you subtract that part, the minimum, divide it by this part here. Okay. The dollar signs here are what are going to fix the cell that you use to the minimum and maximum. Okay, let me just do it. Okay. So anyways, I'm going to take this and normalize it. I need to know the min and max equals min. Oops, that should be K5. And the max. Okay. Cool. That's the biggest number. 56 is the lowest. Is that right? 56 is the lowest number? Let me check. Yeah, 56 is the lowest number. That's the highest number. Okay, so my formula for this, I'm actually going to just put this here and paste it to remind me of how to do it. Oops. Let's take off this equal sign. All right, just so we can see what it looks like. Let's go ahead and apply this formula that we have here. So first we put the equal sign, parentheses. So cell means click on the cell you want to start with. minus the minimum. Okay, and then divided by the maximum minus the minimum. So as I'm hitting min and max, I'm actually just selecting those cells, the boxes, and that's where that K4, K3, all that stuff's coming from. Okay, times 100, so shift 8 is the times 100. Okay, enter. All right. Now for this, you actually, as you can see the little dollar sign here, you want to have that in the K and the 3. For the max one, the K and the 4, and also this K and 3. Okay, and the reason why is what that does is it makes sure as you're scrolling down to the next and next and next city that you're still going to this exact K3 box and exact K4 box. Because if you don't put the dollar sign, like when I go to the next city, it's going to take this minimum value and it's just going to pick the next, it's going to kind of scroll down with the cities. Anyways, long story short, these 3 pieces should have the dollar sign in front of the letter and the in front of the number. Okay, so it's a score to 0 because that's the lowest one. Okay, I can scroll that down, and the number should be between 0 and 100. 100 should be like the highest score. Okay, oops, so let me, here. There might be a faster way to apply this formula, but I don't know of it. Okay. So we just have to scroll down. There's about 500 or so entries. I like to stop part of the way just in case my finger slips. I don't have to start all the way from the top. And oops, I went a little too far. Okay. So I will. Okay. So here's how you can check yourself. All the numbers should be between 0 and 100. 0 should be the smallest number. 100 is the largest. There you go. Oh, I did smallest here. The largest is here. Okay, so the highest on our list are all these ones that should have close to 100 score. So Charlotte, actually, super high score. This is all based off of reported crimes as well. And that's how you did it.